Being an actor is the first thing that I remember wanting to do in life. I remember at 14, 15 years old, watching some classic films, spending months and months watching all the great classics, all the great performers of the past, and being so incredibly inspired by them and saying to myself, one day I want to come close to doing something that good. So I think that thirst or that drive to just achieve what I believe is something as good as, those heroes that I have is what continues to make me want to do this.
Leonardo Dicaprio is one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. He starred in various famous movies and was awarded several accolades, including an Oscar for Best Actor. His insane drive took his career to extremely high levels, and though he achieved so much, there's still a lot more to be conquered in his plans. From a young age, he knew what he wanted to do, and he pursued it until he got it. If you have an inspiration, a dream, or a desire, you have to pursue it. Don't leave your dreams for tomorrow. There's no time like today.
Has acting turned out to be all that you wanted it to be?
It's incredible. It's incredible. I never knew that I could do it as a career. I never knew. It was the first memory that I had. It's the first thing I can think of is saying, I want to be an actor to my parents. And if I hadn't lived in Los Angeles and been in such close proximity to sort of the mecca of movie making, if I didn't have parents that said, okay, we'll drive you to auditions, we didn't have the economic means to, move camp from Idaho to Los Angeles because some snotty 10-year-old kid says, I want to be an actor. We did it, and after school I got to go on auditions, but it was always, and I've said this before, it felt like an elite group of people, and it felt like I would never belong to them. So once I got the opportunity to, for example, get the movie This Boy's Life with Robert De Niro, I said, wow, now I'm able to I might be able to steer the course of my career. I might be able to have a career similar to these guys that I so admire. And that I knew at 15 years old was the biggest gift in the world, and that's never left me. I've never that thirst or that hunger for wanting to give one great performance that I'm truly satisfied with, or be in one movie that I said, I love this film, is something that I don't know will ever be quenched. I don't know, and I think that's a good thing, because it keeps pushing you. You're constantly dissatisfied, in other words.
Many times it will seem like what you want is impossible. You will feel like you don't belong in the place where you want to be. But there's a reason why you want those things, and it is because they can be achieved. It only depends on you. What are you going to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? How bad do you want it? If you want to be everything you've always admired, your hunger must be infinite. You must never be satisfied. Always look for more. Always go for the next best thing. Give everything you have, passion, dedication, and hard work. That's what creates success.
You're sort of set up and you're put into this system where I think that you're supposed to be a jack of all trades, and you're 11, 12 years old, and you're sort of conditioned to say, well, the casting director's there and say, well, can you juggle? And you're like, absolutely I can juggle, can you ski? Hell yeah, I'm your man, I'll do whatever you want, little tap dancing show. So you're supposed to set yourself up as somebody that can, basically do anything that they want. And I remember sort of having that attitude for a while. And I didn't book a job for like a year at 12, 13 years old. And I know that's like a big sob story, but but the truth is, it was that year of rejection where I finally said to I suppose I took a different attitude towards the audition process. And I started to get jobs after that. And I think it was really because I said to myself, you know, I'm not dependent on this job. You know, this isn't going to define me, you know, and I started to sell myself less, prepare more for the roles, you know, really investigate the characters as much as I could, and not feel like, you know, my self-worth was dependent on whether I booked the job or not. And I think that's finally what clicked with me, and I realized that casting directors weren't always necessarily looking for the, you know, the Broadway showman that could do whatever they wanted, but somebody that had, you know, I don't want to say a little edge to them, but, you know, a different attitude about the audition process. Because, you know, you focus more on the work, you focus more on the character rather than selling yourself constantly to these people.
Don't try to be something you're not. Live your truth always. That doesn't mean you can't or shouldn't change. But that when you do is because when you really thought about it and realized it was the best course of action. When you conform to people's expectations, you never stand out. And if you want the opportunity to achieve your highest potential, you have to stand out. You have to keep your faith in yourself and in what you have. Failure and rejection don't mean you're not worth it. Sometimes they only mean there's something you need to do to become better. Embrace failure and learn from it. Learn what you need to do and do it. Soon the opportunities will arise.
I mean, I never went to a formal acting. It was only until really The Aviator that I started working with Larry Moss, who, you know, it was the first film that I had produced, that I had thought of. It was sort of my concept, and I felt like I needed to brush up on my technique. So that's when I really started doing formal training, and it was an amazing experience with him. I mean, it was more than learning how to be a better actor. He was a life coach. It was like, he's like, over the first day, he was like, all right, you wanna go over this stuff? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And he's like, okay, you're Howard Hughes, you're in your plane, this is your cocoon, this is your sanctuary. Show me how you fly a plane. I'm like, well, I haven't really. He's like, come on, don't, you know, basically sit in that chair and do it for me right now. I'm like, well, I haven't quite prepared. He's like, don't you pull that shit with me. He's like, you get in that goddamn cockpit right now and you show me who the hell Howard Hughes is. You do it for me right now. I'm like, okay, shit. I mean, and from there we started working on breaking down this script in a way that I've never had before.
I have to say I'm impressed because most people, you know, don't get an Oscar nomination and have like many hit films behind them and then choose to go see an acting coach.
I think everyone can always, you know, brush up on their technique. It is, you know, what we do is takes a lot of research. I mean, if you really want to inhabit a role, it takes a lot of work and training, and I think it's incredibly important to constantly, no matter how successful you are, it's incredibly important.
Always improve. Always strive to become better. Always aim for the next level. Success is not a finite thing that when you reach it, it is the end of the line. Success is infinite. There's always more to it. You got what you wanted? Now there is something else you want. Did you become the best at something? There is something else you can master. Never stop learning, and you will never stop succeeding.
Well, I've always been fascinated by, you know, this world that we live in and how destructive we are to it. And as soon as I, you know, really became an actor, that's been, you know, a parallel passion of mine, is trying to bring attention to some incredibly important issues. I think that really so little goes to protecting our planet. When you think of all of philanthropy, only 2% of philanthropy and giving goes towards the biggest life-sustaining force that we have, and that's our planet. and we're systematically polluting it. We're chopping down rainforests, destroying coral reef systems, animals, very unique creatures that have taken hundreds of millions of years to evolve are becoming extinct, and it's pretty horrific what we're doing. So I've devoted a lot of time away from acting to not only try to bring attention to it, but to bring much needed funding to a lot of these issues. And so I feel like I can make a good contribution to it, but more than anything, I would really love to get a lot of, the wealthiest people on earth to focus on these issues, because it's becoming pretty dire.
Success gives people power. The power to do great things and to call attention to important issues. We all have things we care deeply about, and as human beings, it is our duty to defend the things we love. We must care for the planet. We must care for other people. We must care for ourselves. There probably is something that touches you deeply when you hear about it. Recognize it. Find a cause to fight for and give back to the world. That is the greatest impact we can have. And it is the best way to give thanks to existence. Give back to the world, and you will feel like you're the richest you've ever been.